That's right, Romaine. And you mentioned it earlier. PacWest Bancorp, which is a regional bank ironically based in Beverly Hills, where you are, Romaine, is falling in after-hours trading. It's tumbling right now by 42% after saying it's weighing strategic options, which basically means it's looking for a possible buyer. So we wanted to bring in Herman Chan, senior U.S. regional bank analyst for Bloomberg Intelligence. Herman, can you tell us a little bit about PacWest's business and who it's making loans to?
Sure. So really the issue is that when SVB was facing issues with deposit outflows with its technology and venture capital clients, PacWest was facing the same because they do also bank with startups and those same cohort of customers, just not to the same extent. So PacWest saw some declines in deposits in the first quarter, but to their credit, they saw about a 2% increase in deposits in April, so it seemed like things were stabilizing. Now we're getting some news that they're looking for strategic alternatives, which does upend some of that thinking.
Right, and I wanted to touch on that point because the earnings report last month had indicated things had calmed down. What do you think it is that sparked this latest round of perhaps depositors pulling out money? Is it the stock price falling? Is it First Republic being absorbed by JP Morgan?
Yeah, unfortunately with the market being so negative on regional banks now, after the failure of First Republic, the spotlight really shone to other banks like PacWest, and the share price decline yesterday probably spooked some of the depositors to exit the institution, is my guess.
Okay, so that's where I want to go to next, because so many people say the stock price is not the balance sheet. It does not reflect the balance sheet. Yet we see time and again that when the stock price tumbles, something happens and the bank is forced into this defensive position. Can you explain that connection?
Yeah, in a lot of ways, it's the dog wagging the tail wagging the dog is the expression, right? So the stock price can be a vote of confidence for a bank, because really banks are require confidence for the institution to thrive and survive. So if that confidence leaves, then depositors can potentially leave that balance sheet and really destabilize the entire operations of a bank.
So talk about how the FDIC fits in here, because they kind of took the First Republic seizure very slowly. They tried to wait it out and see if a buyer would emerge. How do you think they'll proceed with PacWest, given that the FDIC needs to replenish its insurance fund?
Yeah, that's a good question. The regulators, in conjunction with the largest regional banks and the largest banks in the United States, tried to save it with the $30 billion deposit injection. Unfortunately, ultimately, that wasn't a successful venture. I'm not sure we're going to see that same sort of attempt for further banks down the road. So maybe the FDIC would come in and be a bit more proactive in dealing with these potential troubled institutions going forward.
I got to also ask you about another name, which is Western Alliance, because yesterday when we really saw the regional banks tumble anew, it was PacWest and Western Alliance that were falling the most.
Right.
What do we know about Western Alliance? It's based in Arizona, so it's not a California-based bank, and so I'm guessing it's not catering to the same startup founders and tech companies that PacWest, First Republic, and Silicon Valley Bank did.
It's a small subset of the deposits that are also tech and VC related, which is why it's been in the spotlight. But we've seen also credible path forward from them in terms of increasing their capital ratios, selling assets, seeing a much more increase in insurance across their deposit base. And like PacWest, they saw about a 2% increase in deposits in April. So from that standpoint, things seem to have stabilized on that front.
If the bank executives were to be asked, how much do you think they'll blame short sellers for just poking holes and looking for vulnerable banks here?
I think a majority of them would. For example, Western Alliance actually put out a slide in their first quarter deck that showed put option buying that really sank the stock in March. So that's something that is on the minds of a lot of bank management teams.
Yeah, as investors look for the next vulnerable bank in trying to fend off these higher rates and higher costs of funding. Herman, really appreciate your joining us on this instant analysis here of PacWest, saying that it is weighing strategic options, including a possible sale. The stock is tumbling in after-hours trading, down by about 48% at the moment.